Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Good to have you here this afternoon. Get this back up to the 5-minute chart here. Wow, look at that. Stretch these out just so we can see where everything is. All right. All right. So it looked like if I had taken the long here, it would have gotten the 30 points that I was hoping to get out of it. Let me remove this long tool since I didn't take the trade. And that's all without even taking any of these highs. But these highs are actually from lunch. So we see that even during lunch, price still had issues with the previous high. I went ahead and marked that just to see what would happen if it got above, but it pushed and it was rejected each time with the exception of this candle, which closed above, but immediately the following candle traded back in and closed below. So then it was just ranging again throughout lunch. So I'm not sure if anyone was up actively trading during the lunch hour. So even though this was a scary entry and one that was not the most ideal, it's good to see that these entries do eventually work out. And it's the same thing I always notice when I'm back testing is that almost every situation works out. Some are a bit more ideal where they just get up and run in one or two candles, and others will, what you see here, like consolidate for an hour or so, but still deliver 30 to 40 points. Let's see. Oh, the dollar's going crazy. All right. Well, let's get going actually doing that then. Let's show that first. Oh, Queen Vivian. What's up, Shalor? WC Richard. All right, so the dollar. We saw it earlier, just before lunch. We had saw this candle here push up into this fair value gap, and I wasn't sure if we were going to reject from it or if it was going to continue to buy into a deeper retracement into the fair value gap and then potentially reject. I mean, it could have just bought through and this fair value gap not even held or been confirmed. So this is good to see that during the lunch hour, it pressed lower, closed below. And now even the opening portion of this hour, we see now it's seeking morning lows potentially. So pre-lunch lows. We go ahead and mark that up just in case. So for the rest of the day, whenever we come back to the dollar, we'll be looking for this level because breaking this level gets it into this fair value gap. And so if the dollar does have a bounce and you start seeing it push higher, it's more likely going to come from here. So throughout this hour, we'll look and see if it breaks. And if it breaks, then we'll start looking for a reaction once it gets to 105.6. I guess it's about flat, 105.600. And then from there, we're still looking for higher values here. We see this is in a fair value gap now on 1 hour towards the, wow, it went tipped just above it, actually. Put its wick just above it. If it continues to buy, then of course we have these relative equal highs here with a much larger fair value gap above. So that's likely where price will push into before it run into some type of obstacle that's going to send it the opposite direction. So as we continue to watch the dollar and what we saw the dollar doing, we'll likely look for something similar. If the dollar pushes lower into the bullish fair value gap, then we're looking for these to push higher into the bearish one. We got the same over here. We see this on the lower time frame. This thin one, this is the one that has been fighting throughout lunch. So if it is able to break through there, then we see the much larger one above. And that would be the one that's opposite of what we see down here for USD. So I would still be bullish. Looking at price right now, I'd still be bullish. We're now trading at 17,590. We get somewhere around 650, so another 60 points or so, then potentially maybe there could be a bearish reaction. But as of right now, I'd be looking for a long if that's what price presents itself. Oh, okay. Didn't realize I had never taken my my photo off. Hopefully you were able to see the dollar just fine since it was at the lower end of the screen. Right. We see this structure here fail, trying to make a new high, trading back down into the breaker. Now we see a break lower. Key level here would be 17,560 if price wants to break below that and close. Agreed, Khaled. So here's the thing. If we still see the dollar pushing lower and we still see NQ just moving sideways, and then that would tell me that NQ is likely waiting for the dollar to hit whatever PD array is looking for to push higher. So then it can finally lose these lows and push lower. That's how I would interpret that. All right, while price is just moving like this, let's take a peek at the daily here. Just look and see what the daily candle is doing. Right. As we look at the daily, I know there's a lot of, all right, there we go. Take the lipstick off. Now it's just candles. So as we look at this, we can see that it's already this candle, the last down close candle Friday. We've already taken the high from Friday, completely engulfing this candle with Monday, Tuesday's price action. Right. So you already start to see that now you can see momentum swinging. Not that it's shifted, but you can start to see it swinging by price being able to build into this downward price movement. Now, it doesn't have to go all the way back to the top. It could just settle in right here and then break down further. It could settle into this cluster after trading up and break down further. So you still have to be nimble when looking at that price, and as you see it start to turn around. However, we do see that it's starting to show some bullish momentum. So this is good. This is really good for prices as we look for it to settle and sort of find a bottom. We drop down a little further from the daily, and now we get down to the 4-hour. And so swept this low, pushing down on Friday afternoon. Then we saw the build into what was a bearish fair value gap there. Small retracement, building out, invalidating the fair value gap, sweeping this high this morning. And this would be similar to what you would expect in a 2022 model, ICT 2022. It's just on the 4-hour, where you had a sweep of a low down, you had an impulse up, leaving a fair value gap. So as we continue to build up, if you see price breaking down, put your eyes, fix it right here as a potential area for price to find support and then push higher. All right, here's the 1-hour. This was the level that we broke when I said, all right, if we break this level and close it, it was the 553 level. If we break that level and close, now we're bullish again. Remember, on the price leg down, we made a retracement, pushed even lower. So this became our protected high. As price pushed lower, and then you got a couple of days of price moving around in between this price leg from the low to the high. Price was just in between. And then finally this morning, it broke higher and closed higher, shifting back to being bullish. However, we do have some fair value gaps here, so we could see price retrace into here. And if you do, still wait and look for a reaction every time it comes into one of these at this time frame. You want to drop down to your 5-minute, your 3-minute, and look and see if you see some sort of price pattern that shows it's reversing and going back up. And then you're going to look for a long. Okay, so you got one here and a larger one here. This level right here, when we took it this morning with this big bullish candle, did not return back down. So definitely price is going to want to return to this candle right here that it hasn't returned to since it left. So I would focus more on this fair value gap than the first one. But still, when it hits the first one, you still want to go and check and see if price wants to turn around, because we also have this level that it traded above and closed. And so it may want to come back here, do a small bounce, go higher, and then come back down and get this area on the next one. Sorry, not that one. This one on the next one, which coincides also with this level. So that's what I'm seeing on a higher time frame. So we'll continue to watch what's going on the 5-minute, but on a higher level, those are the levels I'm looking at. Who said that? Unicorn queen, of course. Yep, queen. That's exactly what it is. A daily change in state of delivery by engulfing the Friday's candle. Then you have it. Let me go back. I'll go back to it just so people can see it again. So whenever you see Queen talking about the CISD, change in state of delivery, by taking out this candle here, whenever it does want to retrace, you have to find, usually it's going to retrace maybe to about the 50% point there, or unless there's a fair value gap created, and maybe there's another daily candle here, it creates a fair value gap, you'll get a trade back down and then out. So yeah, definitely pay attention to that. But you're right, Queen, it does look like a change in state of delivery. Not a market structure shift, but a change in state of delivery. Yep. So we had a, break of structure here because the high was previously this one here at the 1125 candle. You then had a closure above here in the 1230 candle here. The candle that made this price movement was this one at 1155. If you look at the consequent encroachment of the 1155 candle, was probably somewhere in this. I'm just eyeballing 50%, and it's somewhere around 17,570. And you can see where price traded to with the wick, and then out of that for at least 30 points so far. I'm sorry, let me go back with the drawings. There we go. Mm. Milad, which one are you talking about? You talking about the one that we're currently inside of, or the one just above? Yep. Hey, what's up, Shark? Yeah, we're still in the lunchtime chop for now, or the pre-lunch chop starting at around 10:30. At 10:30, we had a retracement, and then at 11 o'clock, it kind of confirmed that it wanted to chop. So yeah, we're just wondering now if price is just holding steady until the dollar reaches a point of support to where it then turns around and starts pulling higher, and then maybe we'll actually go lower because we've been hanging tight on this hourly fair value gap here. Okay, Milad. All right. Yep. And that could be, it could be that the breaker here, and at least the bearish one that we had before lunch, that was set up with that actually failed. Actually, this was the fair value gap from 10:55 until 11:05. I think this is what we thought was going to be. I think this was it. I'm not mistaken. I believe this is the one we were looking at before. Yep, that was it, because it went from this high to this low, higher high, lower low, closing below this low. The body was below, and then we took back in. We saw this as a bearish fair value gap. We were hoping that that would then send price lower, and what we saw was it failed. Price traded above the breaker and closed, and so it could be that that bearish breaker is going to set up here. It's 1:30 now, so the lunch high and low are now confirmed, and they're still intact. Price still hasn't traded to either one of them. I would expect price to trade to both. We're talking about a range of 50 points, almost exactly. 51 and a half, something like that. We'll see how price reacts up here, but ideally I'd like to see a sweep of these equal lows, taking out the lunch low, still inside of the fair value gap, and then have a build back up to then sweep the lunch high and get back and get into this fair value gap up here, and then decide how high price wants to go. That's if I had a crystal ball. There's a Fibonacci on the lunchtime range. Be better. So we see, at least we're having higher lows. So we see price building up. That's also good to see because we had from the breaker, we had a close above at 11:20 way before lunch. So it's good to finally see price pushing back again like it did during lunch hour, as opposed to sweeping lows first. $6.50. Just gonna mark off 30 points because I want to see if price pushes out of the breaker by 30 points. You know what? I'll take that back. Let me stretch it out to where it's a 1-to-1 trade. I think 1-to-1 is about 50 points. Really a slight impulse. There you go. Lunch highs gone. Finally. February 21st, the protected low on the weekly. Last week, this was the one we wanted to see if price would close below it, then shifting bearish sentiment to the weekly chart. And it did. So now I wanted to see how would price react when it returned to it, because it usually a key level like that, it will return and do a test on it to see if price can push through it. And so now I do want to see how it performs here. It also tapped into the fair value gap above. daily. Okay. Yes, so that could be the case where then that becomes an inversion, fair value gap. You just want to be careful. You want to be careful because of the daily fair value gap that's below it as well. So you have two. Um, and so you want to make sure that then tomorrow's candle, as it starts to retrace, got to start thinking about how large of a fair value gap does it want to leave behind. And so if it keeps that top fair value gap, then it's going to be pretty large as far as the fair value gap that's below, from like 450 to 500, that area. So you just have to make sure that price doesn't want to trade down there, because if it does, then of course it'll invalidate the entire inverse fair value gap. I'd be more willing to take the one below and take that consequent encroachment around 475. So 17,475, that area. Robin, the breaker I was talking about. You talking about this one, the blue area? All right. So basically the breaker flipped. I'll show you what happened. So you can see where price was trading to this morning. We had it come from below out of the screen, traded up to here, and then it retraced back down, made a low, then came and made a higher high, higher than that one right here, right? Then it made this low. Tell you what I'll do. Let me delete breaker here, right? So price traded up, traded down, traded higher, traded lower. So the breaker became this low to this high. All right. And then we had a fair value gap right here on this purple candle. So when price traded lower and ended up down here, we were trying to trade it back up and down. But when price traded higher and closed up here, then what that did was that flipped the breaker to now a bullish breaker. Because the first one was high, low, higher high, lower low. That was the first breaker. Okay. That one failed. So then we came back and we looked, and then there was another breaker that was formed. And that was low, high, lower low, higher high. And that left a bullish fair value gap. So then this became the new breaker. First one failed, and in failing, it created a new one. And that's basically what happens when you get a failed price sweep. That's what creates the breaker. Right? Price swept this low, but it couldn't hold, and it immediately bought back up. So you get a breaker out of it. And so this was the breaker that held just before lunch. It had the fair value gap, traded back down into it, traded out of it, finally closing above here. Oh, I'm sorry. No, something's wrong with this. Here. There we go. Low, high, lower low, higher high. All right. So no, the closure above happened here at 11:20. Traded back in, and so the entries should have been in any of these candles, starting at 11:25 all the way down to noon. And then you basically just had to hold. And if you miss those, then of course, naturally you have to catch it back on the back end. I like to take entries during the macro. So I would just been looking at the macro times and seeing if there were entries there. So this would have been the first macro period, 1150 to 1210. So your entries would have been in here. And then the next macro, 1150 to 110. I'm sorry, 1250 to 110. All right, so these 4 candles pretty much. Actually, I'll take that back. These 4 candles. It would have had to be one of these 4. So you wouldn't have gotten a consequent encroachment entry. You would have just got a breaker entry. And then again, you would have just had to hold until price bought out of it. Did that answer your question, Robin? Oh, okay. Got it. Good. All right. Now we're in the 150 to 210 macro. We're back. Oops. 50. What am I doing? Should be 1 to 1. There it is. All right. So the 30 points that I like to see price deliver out of a breaker has happened already. And now let's see if it delivered a 1 to 1, which you also want to see. You want to see that it delivers a 1 to 1, as well as, for me, I like the 30-point threshold. Okay, yep, Queen, that'll be the 50-point threshold. So hopefully it gets to 653. All right, CE is at 654. Okay, just above where Queen wants to TP out. All right, Snipe, you're looking for shorts. Let's do this then. Let's go ahead and put a 50% marker here. All right, there you go. Fair value got chopped into 4 quadrants. Now let's look and see if we have anything to look for early on for the silver bullet. On this time frame, not a lot. There's this one. All right, 2 o'clock, silver bullet hour, and a new 4-hour candle. So we just concluded the previous one, which was heavily bullish, just like the one before it. All right, so far we see price rejecting off at a 25% level of the fair value gap. Quadrant 1 is holding price back from getting to quadrant 2, which is the one that will give us a one-to-one risk reward from the breaker. We'll see if we get that during the macro. Generally, the macro is when targets are met. So hopefully in the next 8 minutes or 7 minutes, price will push up and get through that 17,650 level. At 643. All right, sniper. Okay, I looked away for a few minutes and see I missed nothing. All right, let's see what's going on now. So we see price did finally push through, breaking the previous highs. Still not a closure above that first quadrant. And we're getting close to the end of the macro here. We've got another 90 seconds. Couldn't agree more. All right, macro's over now. Let's see where price pushes or if it continues to push. I believe that it will. Oops. 'Kay. I hear you, Queen. Let's see what happens. Let's see if it eventually pushes up. 653. $670 loot. Okay. Yeah, it's doable. I think there's a new day opening gap in there somewhere from April 17th, but You go back to that 1 minute fair value gap here. All right, so the stop loss should be at 620. I'll go ahead and delete that out since it didn't hold. But again, stop loss should have been at 620, which okay, which would not have, well, wait a minute, here to here, 619.75. So the stop loss would have held because the lowest is gone is 620.5. So it'd still be in the trade if you had taken that as your silver bullet entry. Then, as they say, you'd be looking for at least 20 points. So you'd be looking for it to trade to 648, 650. So right around the same exact spot. Sorry, let me get back to the 5 minute. We traded into a good portion of that wick. See if price reverses here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's gonna go and get its target soon. But then again, I am regularly wrong. Mm-mm. Yeah, maybe it's just waiting for his next impulse now. That's what's happening. Move sideways a bit. Sorry, not impulse. Waiting for the next expansion. All right, final minute of this candle. Mm. Well, at least it's not perfectly aligned with, with these highs. Let's see if it can break the previous couple highs and then see if the price can get up and run a little bit. All right, it's a good start. Oh, I missed that impulse there. Expansion. It's a good candle. Looking good so far. Let's see if it then sweeps the high of the hour, 2 o'clock, and then give Queen the ability to go take a nap if she wants to. There we go. This candle closure. Wow, even pushing to the last second. That's excellent. Go ahead and finish the job. Oh, my biggest pet peeve is this right here. Get a point away and then do this. Yep, always playing games. Finally, there it is. Just had to wait a few extra minutes. Wow. Let's review what this trade entailed. All right. First, we had a bearish breaker which failed. So in a lot of cases, there was already a loss there. Then you had it flip to a bullish breaker. So then you had to have the confidence to continue on, believing that a bullish breaker would run you into an hourly fair value gap. When also previously there was, I don't see it here, but there was one right here as well, just below. However, if you did believe that the bullish breaker was going to drive you up into this area based on the risk you would have had to assume to take the trade, you still would have been entering at 11:30 and just now getting your TP if you were looking for a 1-to-1 at 2:30. So that was a long trade. Normally, they don't take that long. They generally also do not give you well over an hour to enter. In this case, you got 2 hours to enter the trade from 11:30 to 1:30 was your opportunity to get in. So that's also something that doesn't typically happen. But this is the second or third time that I've seen something like this that still delivers as the model is supposed to, just not in the time that you probably would have wanted to. But if you stick with it and don't change your mind, price still delivers. Yep. Yeah. After having the failed bearish breaker, I took the bullish breaker in my demo account, and it took a while, but it worked out. Let me get this long tool out of the way. Price still has not hit consequent encroachment yet of the fair value gap. It's within a couple ticks of it, but didn't quite get there. Bearish breaker. Yep. Be looking for bearish breaker now. All right, so we'll see if price breaks down. If we get a trade below and we get something below 620, maybe somewhere, get rid of this lunch high. we get a trade back down to 620 or somewhere in this range, then we could see a potential short coming, a bearish breaker. Still think price is going to hit consequent encroachment first. I think we're going to go to 650, probably 655. Yep, invest. Are you talking about, there is not currently a breaker. The most recent one was the bullish one from lunch. If you're looking for what I was just talking about, just in case, this might become one. So from that high down to this low and then up to this high. But we need it to go even lower to activate. If we get down here, then you could have a bearish breaker, which would be this blue rectangle here. And then you'll be looking for a trade back inside and down. Hopefully this move down also leaves behind a fair value gap, so you get a unicorn setup. But right now it's still trading up here, so we don't have a breaker. All right, just hit rewind. All right, invest. Did you catch that? I explained it. I know you say there was a commercial. Did you hit the rewind button? I mean, in a lot of cases, they do look different, but a bullish breaker is just simply a low high, lower low, and a higher high. And when you get this pattern where you swept the low and swept the high, this leg is your breaker. Now, typically what you will see when you see a bullish breaker like that is at the bottom of a range. And you see them look like this. Where you had a leg down, retracement, further leg down, and then sweeping that high. And this is the same thing I just drew. A low, then a high, lower high, higher high. But this is what it looks like when you're catching the absolute bottom on a reversal, right? And that's why it looks a little bit different. This one here is just the opposite. This is high, low, higher high, lower low. And then either way, you still end up with the same thing. And then you just wait for price to trade back in and then go lower. So essentially what you had is you have a failed continuation. You had a retracement, price moved higher. You expected it to then retrace and continue higher, but instead of retracing, it swept the low and reversed on you. And so in a nutshell, that is what a breaker is. It's a reversal pattern. Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. You sure can. All right, so we did finally hit consequent encroachment here of the fair value gap. So that was the area I was waiting for price to hit. Everyone looking for bearish setups, I would definitely be looking now. Not that it's guaranteed to flip bearish, but this is a good place for it to do it if it was going to. Which is why I like this one. You high, low, go and get a higher high. See now if it breaks down and you sweep this low. But honestly, you can shift this over. We made a new high, so you can always go and redo it. Oh, that's a good question, Richard. I don't actually have metrics on that, but that fair value gap does, in a lot of cases, restrict price. So when you have like a breaker here, and then there's a fair value gap there, when price breaks below and it comes back for retracement, what you find is sometimes the fair value gap will hold price and then send it lower. So you don't have to worry about the area up here. It's not all the time that that happens, but that's sometimes that's what the fair value gap will do for you. But I don't actually have numbers on how much stronger is it, or how what's the strike rate on a unicorn versus just a breaker. When you say you have it on the 230 candle, hey, okay, cool. I had it on the 3 minute, the same. Yeah, same here. I had it here first, Queen, when we were trading this area, and then I started showing examples and things. So you're right. I needed to, once the new high was made over here, I needed to, I'm sorry, not that one, this high. Once this high was made, I needed to reevaluate where the breaker was. There's silver bullet. All right, let's see if we get one. Where we are right now, Shark, there isn't one. Let me drop down in time frame. What we'll need is we need an impulse push lower to create a fair value gap first. Everything from 2 o'clock until now has been a bullish price leg. Yep, so silver bullet would have either been entering on this or entering here. And those would have been your entries for 20 to 30 point TP there. 59. Did it get to 59? Didn't quite make it. So this one right here would not have delivered 20 points, or at least it hasn't yet. It would have been the earlier one from about 210. Now, ICT did say that the silver bullet, you just have to be in the trade by the end of 2 o'clock. So this one here could still deliver if we're going to still see higher prices. So the entry at 639 could potentially go up to 660 and beyond, and that would deliver 20 points. Date on premium PD arrays. Oh yeah, I forgot we're in the macro. We are. Let's shift this thing down. Oh, okay. I didn't. Yeah, we traded below. We need a 5-minute closure. So in the next 2.5 minutes, we needed to trade back down and close below. Right. All right, so we did get a close below on the 5-minute there. You can see it close well below. All right, so go back to the 1 minute and watch the next 12 to 15 minutes from this time frame. Right, let's just quickly take a look and see where the dollar and the other indices are trading. Went to the restaurant, it dropped. Oh, all right. So we'll quickly take a look here, see where the dollar is currently trading. Let me slide this down a bit. All right. So we see it traded up to the fair value gap, and this was the lunch hour. This was the 1 to 2 o'clock hour just behind it, trading even lower. And then so far this hour is getting ready to close in 3 minutes, and you can see how small the candle is. It's inside the range of the previous candle without doing much at all. So it's going to create a small bearish fair value gap above. And earlier I was hoping to see the dollar sweep this low and get down into the fair value gap here. So I'm still thinking that's where the dollar is going to trade to. It's just now we got about a 1 hour to get it done. So we'll see. It could just put up another candle right behind this one that's just, you know, to the side and small in range. But we'll see. Then we move over to the indices. And we do see slight pullbacks on S&P and Dow. Oops. Whereas we see a slight, very slight expansion by Nasdaq into the consequent encroachment of the fair value gap there. And so we saw that this past hour reaching that level. So nothing surprising there. Yeah, I think there was a similar fair value gap here that S&P traded above, which is why it's no longer there. And if we look at the Dow, something very similar, had a bearish fair value gap here as well that we see prices traded above. Okay. All right, so we'll continue to check on them and see if they want to go higher or lower, which direction it wants to move. But a lot of that's going to be predicated on where the dollar wants to move. And so far, at least the last hour hasn't gone anywhere. So we'll check back in 20 or 30 minutes or so, see if anything's changed. It's a higher time frame here now that we've seen price break lower. Okay, price may want to go. Let's see if we do the breaker to breaker. All right, a 1 hour fair value gap. Bullish one seems to be holding price. Even though we've gotten two strong pushes, we've gotten two rejections within the same time frame, and it's all within the same 5-minute candle. I'm also watching on the 1 minute so I can see the candles being separated. So far, 5 minutes has not created a gap of any kind. We do have a fair value gap created on the 1 minute. Pretty sizable one here, including the breaker, but also a good portion below it. Let me see. I'll just draw this up just in case anyone's using the 1 minute. Okay, Richard bailed out too soon. Hmm. And minutes into power hour. Got about another 1 hour to trade. All right, so far we got the candle body still inside of the fair value gap here. And we're in our last minute of the macro. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on the 5-minute again. I'll splash it back. Power hour. Yeah, Richard, you're loud. You're one of the newbies. So some of us old heads do the same thing. So don't worry about it. All right, we did have a trade outside of the fair value gap here on the 1 minute, and it failed and traded back inside. So we'll see if that continues for the next candle. Yeah, I agree, Richard. It's going to be a learning curve for you, but don't be afraid of it. Once you get good at paper to where you know that your trades are solid, your strategy solid, and you know how to manage it, then it's just growing pains, just something you're going to have to go through. I mean, 315 to 345 macro. Let's see what that brings us. That's usually the run on the midnight open. And midnight open so far away that I can't imagine that happening, but a push lower could definitely be in the cards. All right, folks, if you're enjoying the stream today, this afternoon, if you could hit the like button for me, please. Really appreciate that. Sony, yes, possibly we are bearish now, and you're right, a bullish day. But you got to remember when you look at wicks, right? There's always a wick above, or usually there's a wick above and below. So no matter how high a candle builds up, it's still at the very end tails off and pulls back a little bit. So this could just be the daily candle making a wick at the top. Appreciate you, Richard. Also, I know price has not been racing and running around really fast this afternoon, but keep in mind that the daily candle is well over 300 points today. So there has been a considerable range already delivered. And so the slower moving candles here at the end of the day, I guess, is expected. right, just had one more touch of consequent encroachment here. And again, that's fair value gap is on the 1 minute, even though we're now looking at the 5-minute chart. This is trapped between these two fair value gaps, both on the hourly. One created just this afternoon, and the other, well, I'm sorry, not this afternoon, this morning. The other was from middle of last week. Mm. Yeah, ES does have equal highs, even on the hourly. It has equal highs from the 2 o'clock and the 1 o'clock hour. Yeah, NQ is the only indice that created this fair value gap right here, this bullish one. So we have Dow and S&P does not have it. You have relative equal lows right here at 17,610. Just below that comes a bullish fair value gap. And we have our bullish breaker. Okay, 3:30 now. Half hour and then 10 on the other side. Thought that rally was going to push all the way through. It did not. Mhm. Yeah, it does feel like watching paint dry here. All right, we got a little bit of time. Still another 12 minutes before we get to the final macro of the day, the 350 to 410. $33. See if it breaks through this trend line. At some point, price can't just continue to stay here. It's either going to trade up or lower. My guess was lower just because of how the breaker is set up and everything is structured. And as I started speaking, price started to move. At 245, sure. So the first thing was we had to anticipate where we thought it might happen. And so that was, we had this bearish fair value gap here. This is on the 1 hour time. And then this line right here is the 50%. So we touched the 50%. That was the first signal. Once that happened, it was like, okay, now we should be looking. We don't know if it's bearish, but we should at least look to see if it's going to be bearish. And in that moment, I think I was looking at this setup here where it was high here, then a low, and then a higher high. So then I know to complete a bearish breaker to move price lower, I need a lower low. So I need a price to move this direction. But prior to doing that, because we were here, I believe, then price made another high because this was the high I was looking at to support a breaker here. But when this traded down and then traded to another high, then that breaker needed to shift from this area over to here. So it needs to be the most recent high, then low, higher high, and then pull down to a lower low, sweeping the low here, closing below, and that was your breaker. So that's where that came from. Because the original, I think the original was this level. You see price is buying up, and then finally we hit an apex, and then we see price moving lower, sweeping these lows here. So that became our low, and then we saw price moving higher, which then is the next to last phase of confirming the breaker. We need price to go lower, sweeping this low here, and that's what happened over there. So that was how that came about. It started with, we think it's going to happen around the consequent encroachment of a fair value gap. And so since we're in a bearish fair value gap, we start looking for shorts. And especially since we had been long building all the way up here. And so then once we got there, then you just got to find a bearish breaker. And so I start on the 5 minute. If I didn't find one, then I would shift down to the 3 minute. And here the 3 and the 5 is the exact same candle or the exact same structure. You keep going low candles, the same area. So now it's this candle plus this one on the 2 minute. And if we go to the 1 minute, it's probably the same. Nope, even more. So it's this candle, and the third one. So it's these three that make it up. Whichever one is the highest of the range and the lower of the range. And then once it broke lower and closed, then we look for a fair value gap to see if it's going to be a unicorn. On the 5 minute, we didn't have one. So there's no unicorn on the 5 minute. Kept dropping. We got one on the 3 minute here. And let's see, I think I took it off of the 1. Yeah, the 1 minute is much larger. And it's inside of it shares space with the breaker. So I like the 1 minute one better. I don't trade Forex, just futures. And that is Muad. Muad. Yes, I don't trade any Forex, just futures. Loot. I think my internet is fine, but I could be wrong. Oh, it's buffering. Okay. All right. Hopefully that took care of everything. No problem. You guys still buffering over there? Yeah, Richard, I don't know if you noticed, but that's when I started only putting the 1 hour fair value gaps on my screen, because that's where I expect for either setups to begin or to end. And so the smaller ones, the 1 minute, the 5 minute, I only grab those if I need them. All right, Queen. Excellent. Excellent. So I guess we're going to be good for the next 20 minutes until our session's over. So hopefully we don't experience any more buffering. We're still on the 1 minute chart. And here we are now at the macro. And first thing out of the gate, what did it do? Start pushing lower. I did already collapse my trade. Just things weren't moving that well. I came down to break even. It stopped me out of break even, and I accepted that instead of getting back in. My original TP was 17,595. Yeah, I've been in a couple of those, Vivian. Yeah, I've been in a couple. And I'm starting to learn to get better at it and just accept the way things are. 210 candle. Oh, I see. Yeah. And what does price do? It always runs to my TP when I'm out of the trade. So let's see if it makes it down to 595, which is a little bit into the bullish breaker here. It's about 5 or 6 points into it. You couldn't resist. You had to get back in. Okay. Yeah, you got in as well, but I switched over to my demo account and got in. And of course, since I'm on demo, it works. Yeah, I think I targeted 595 as a 1 to 2 trade. I think I had a 22-point stop originally, so that would represent about 44 point TP. Yeah, I wasn't even 100% sure I was going to take this last breaker up here, and then I did. So then when it was stalling around, and then when it put me at break even, I just said, okay, maybe that was a sign that I didn't really want that trade. See if it digs in 4 or 5 points, get down to 595. All right, Vivian. So did you just eat up this trade here? All right, there it is, 595. Wait a minute, it didn't tap me out. How does that work? I have TP at 595 and a half. It went to 595 and a quarter. Oh, okay. It did. It tapped me out, but much later, like 20 seconds late. Yep. All right. So price traded from breaker to breaker, bearish to bullish. And once again, it used the macro to actually do something. All right. So the entry was done at 3 o'clock, roughly 3 o'clock to 3:15. Then we get consolidation until 3:45, 3:50, and then price starts to drop. And then you get the expansion you were looking for. And now the daily candle has a wick equal to the bottom wick of the candle. Um, all right, give me a second. I'll tell you. So it came off of short tool entry right here. I feel like I put my stop here at this swing high right here, 244. So above the breaker, but there's a swing high right here. Oops, get rid of that. So that's where I put the stop based on the entry here at the front end. And then I did a 1 to 2 trade. Okay, that's a little bit. Okay, maybe I was off a little bit on my measurement, but that's how I came up with it. So it was just a 1 to 2 trade based on the risk reward. We stop mid-wick right here. Okay. 355. Oh, here, mid-wick, 614. At 4 o'clock, everyone. 10 more minutes or a little less, maybe 9 minutes to trade. Did it just trade back to the fair value gap here? Okay, not quite. Almost. Oops. Yep. All right, Queen, take care. We'll see you get some rest. All right, WC, we'll catch you tomorrow. All righty. Yep. See you tomorrow, Queen. All right, guys, we got about 7 or 8 minutes. I'm not sure if anyone's still in a trade or, yeah, sure, no one's still in a trade. But are there any? Whoa, what was that? 617 to 661 in 1 second. 403. Jeez. 43 points in a second. All right, Splash. Catch you tomorrow. With the 110 candle. Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I think that cut me off mid sentence. Yeah. If anyone has any other questions, we still got about 6 minutes left. So just let me know. Otherwise, we'll cut the feed and we'll say our goodbyes and we'll catch each other tomorrow. Earnings. Okay. Yeah, that could be. Yeah. I think you guys did say there were earnings that were going to be announced this week. And those things tend to take hold or at least impact price action after 4 o'clock. Okay. Queen's talking about a bullish breaker. Well, let's get to the 5 minute and see if we can't find something here. Yep, not quite yet. No closure above, but we'll see if we get one. Especially if this one doesn't push lower and it leaves a fair value gap here, and then you see it push higher and confirm, then you could be looking at a bullish breaker here with the bullish fair value gap inside. So that unicorn will be set up for the 4:15 to Asia session. I'm with Queen though. I'd rather not see it confirm right now. So they're going to say a tap back into the bullish breaker is what sent price soaring. Well, swing high is just the swing high is just the high point with the two lower wicks to the right and left of it. That's all it is. It's just the swing high, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a protected high or anything like that. Vivian, is there a site? I'm not sure because I only use Forex Factory, so I'm getting all the federal news and that kind of thing. But just getting it from companies who's going to announce earnings. I have this one website here that someone shared with me when we were on, I don't know, a couple months ago maybe. But I tried to click through it to see exactly how to figure out who was announcing when, and it looks like it's a paid membership type situation, but it's called Earnings Whisperer. And so for that reason, I haven't been able to figure it out on my own. But there are always some members or subscribers who come into the feed and they talk about what's going to be announced. So either someone has a subscription to one of those sites, or there's another way to find it for free, and I haven't figured it out. Savvy Trader, okay, Davy Trader, okay. Loot, I've never traded the London session. Definitely not live stream, but no, I've never traded the London session. Appreciate it, Vivian. Thank you. All right, everyone. I think, what is it? No FBG on the breaker. That means, Joel, that means nothing. That just means it's a breaker. If it's a fair value gap, then that setup turns into a unicorn setup. But if there is no fair value gap, then it's just a breaker setup. So, all right, everyone. Thank you very much for the session today. I really appreciate it. On your way out, if you could hit the like button for me if you haven't already. Also, new people, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you don't miss out on any invitations, as well as the reminders that go out whenever we go live. If you're not subscribed, then of course, you won't get those. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And I will catch everyone tomorrow morning, 9:15. We'll do it again. Take care, everyone.